Jaylin Noel will sneak his way into the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft. Here's why. Ryan, you think that Iowa State's Jaylin Noel could sneak into the first round and be the most unexpected first round pick? Why is that?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it is not the greatest first round class ever. We've talked about it, that there's only about 9 or 10 true first round grades here. Every single year, Joe, there's 1 or 2 players that ends up being a late first round pick that you're just kind of like, that's weird. Like, that's kind of out of left field. I think that could be Jaylin Noel because of how he stacked this draft process so far. First and foremost, he just had 2 really good years at Iowa State, especially this past year, over 1,000 yards, over 80 receptions. He then follows that up by going to the Senior Bowl and being the best wide receiver in Mobile on both sides. So he dominates the Senior Bowl. Then he goes to the Combine, Joe. What's he do? Runs 4.38, goes 40 plus in the vert, no off the field concerns, no injury background that to my knowledge. I just think when you put all those things together, this could be a kid. And he also measured in over 5'10". He was listed under 5'10" in the spring. So he measured in over 5'10" as well, which I think was a big thing for him. When you stack all those things together, high-end athlete, production, Senior Bowl winner, Combine winner, I think when you put all those things together, man, he is made a strong case to being a guy that's going to go a lot earlier than some people anticipate.
I love his physical profile for what his role is going to be in the NFL. This is a pure slot who's built like a running back. He's super strong in contested situations. He's also somebody who is going to power through press. Like, he doesn't care. He's got this mean, tough approach, the way that he plays the position. His hands are reliable. The release is awesome. The way that he gets off the ball. I can trust his hands. And he's also got pretty good body control. Rocco Becht was all over the place at times when he was trying to deliver him the ball, and he was able to contort his body and come down with it. He checks so many boxes, and he's somebody who I have a favorable day 2 grade on, who, if he goes in the end of the first round, I don't think I'd be really that upset. I'd maybe feel weird if he went ahead of Luther Burden, but his production was better than Luther Burden, and they have a similar role, but maybe not a similar usage in the league.
Yeah, I have a second round grade on him, and I love everything he brings to the table because he does everything that you would expect him to do well, right? Like, he's 5'10", 190-something pound slot receiver, so he wins after the catch well. He has good ability to get in and out of his breaks. He has a good ability to find open space against zone coverage, and he can win against man with that route running upside as well. All those things are what you would expect of him. But the things that separate him, in my opinion, and why we'll talk about this comp later that I think makes a lot of sense, is he is really strong at the catch point for as small as he is. Like, that is that's not a typical thing that you would expect a guy of his size and his stature to be good at. So I look at him and say, yes, he's not the biggest guy of all time, right? Like, a little south of 200 pounds. He's 5'10", but what he does with his ability to win in the air, win after the catch, and the consistency that he brings to the table, why can't this guy be a high-end number 2 receiver on the NFL level? Yeah. I think he has that kind of upside to him.
The thing with Noel, if we're discussing some weaknesses for him, the obvious thing is a lack of length. This is a compact dude. I'm not going to ask him to play anything but in the slot. Like, there is a very unlikely path for him to play any role outside of the slot. So when you don't have versatility, but you're really good at that role, it still limits your projection for where you're going to land. What other weaknesses stand out to you on Noel?
There's not a ton, man. I mean, literally, it's just the size. Like, he doesn't have great height or length, and that's going to affect his alignment versatility, to your point, right? Like, I think he could line up at Z in certain systems and he could do some things out there, but for the most part, I agree with you. He's an inside player due to just his general lack of size. So what does that mean, right? The lack of size, what is that going to affect you of being good at? Probably consistently getting on top of dudes from an outside perspective, probably winning at the catch point outside against longer, lengthier corners. Like, those things are never going to be necessarily in his wheelhouse due to his size. But outside of that, Joe, like, we're not talking about a ton of weaknesses, man. Like, it really all derives from the same issue, and that's the fact that he's not the biggest guy of all time.
Jumping into his background, this is a 3-star recruit in the 2021 class. Jaylin Noel was the 124th ranked receiver per the 247 Sports composite ranking, the 837th ranked recruit, and the 13th in the state of Missouri. So he snuck past a lot of people and didn't really have a ton of big offers.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy when you think about it because he had some like low end offers like Kansas State were a couple of schools that were in on him. But other than that, man, like there's a lot of Charlottes and a lot of Power Five schools. I think Iowa also did offer him, but he's a young man that Kansas City, Missouri, and obviously he understands Midwest and Midwest football, all that type of stuff. But quick shout out if I can to Iowa State. I don't know who their director of recruiting is or their general manager. And I don't even know if they have a general manager role, but they've consistently done this the last couple of years, Joe. Like they have found these kind of underrated, under-recruited athletes that need a little bit of development. Shout out to them because they found a true gem in that class with the Jaylin Noel.
Absolutely a gem. And this is why the comparison feels awesome, because another guy who was a gem in his college career at Utah and was a gem in the NFL was Steve Smith. This was one that you and I were like, before we even, you were looking up who you wanted to compare him to before you said it out loud. And then I just said, this is Steve Smith. Not as angry, maybe not as angry the way that he plays, but the physical nature and the build and the athleticism is so similar. I love this comp. This is probably my favorite comp that we've done because I really see a path where he goes on to becoming one of the better NFL receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible. Obviously, dependent on the system, I really do think because Steve Smith, Joe, he was such a likable player because Steve Smith was one of those guys that, and this you can't quantify this all the time, right? But he was so competitive. Like we always hear, like, oh, he's a dog, right? Steve Smith was a dog, man. Like he blocked his butt off. He wanted the catch point. He was super physical, very competitive, and he talked a ton, right? Like he was that type of dude. And you got to look past the fact that he had some size limitations because they weren't ended up being limitations for Steve Smith. And I think similar to Jaylin Noel, like we're going to hyper focus on the size, but the question is when you watch him play, who has done a great job of guarding him the last year? Who has done a good job at the Senior Bowl of guarding him? Those athletic upside traits showcase that this can translate to the next level. We're not hyping up a 5'10", 190-pound kid that ran 4.56 as like the next big dude. Like this is a legit high 4.3 athlete, 40-inch vertical. I think all this translates, that competitiveness translates, and I think he could be a potential difference maker on the next level in the right role.
Folks, let us know in the comments, what team do you want to see Jaylin Noel play for? Hit that like button and subscribe. We'll talk to you later. All right.